What is up, ladies and gentlemen? My name is DJ Gorilla Jones. It's been a good few minutes, or a good few days, weeks, however you say it, since I've done one of these episodes. And I think I should probably fill you guys up with one that I've been meaning to do for quite a while. So, uh, what's it right now? It's like it's a good 80 degrees right now in New York City, where I am right now. I notice we do have a few viewers, but not enough chatters. Let's maybe fix that. Um, I know some of you people are probably from this interviewees community. Uh, so I should probably do a bit of an introduction on this guy that I'm going to be talking about. I should probably first off say that Twitch does not have enough good streamers. Well, no, Twitch does not have enough recognized streamers, I should say. Most of the streamers on Twitch are pretty good, especially in the Team Fortress 2 section. One of these people is someone named Tig119, and it's someone that I've watched for quite a while. Someone I've watched for, I'd say, 5 or 6 months. He's a guy that's really entertaining, and he's a guy that is willing to basically respectfully debate anything TF2 related. He's a heavy main who has a lot of competitive experience, or maybe just a bit. I'm not too sure, but as far as I know, this guy, how do I say it? This guy was in Pro-Lander. All right, this guy played in Pro-Lander for quite a while, and he never won, but he did 100% definitely show. He did definitely show that he is quite competitive in the Team Fortress 2 scene, and shows that he is quite competitive as heavy main. Okay. He's messaging me saying not exactly. Maybe I'm exaggerating a few details. But nonetheless, please welcome with us here today, Tig119. What's up, Tig? Sorry if I butchered a bit of the
Hello.
details there.
Yeah, I was hearing. I was like, "Oh shit!" Like, let me explain a little bit since you probably don't know too much of the backstory on
Yeah,
that part.
I usually
I
exaggerate a bit too much. I'm sorry.
yeah, I did play a bit of Highlander years ago with an old group that I used to play with YouTube back in like 2015 or something called Neo Gamers View or NGV,
Hmm.
and we did some Highlander. But we didn't get really too far to my memory. I do remember playing on some TO2 lobbies on sixes and stuff. But I never really got too big into competitive, and only recently did like one Prolander game, and we did win, and that's all I remember from that. And pretty much haven't really went further than that. I just wanted to at least clear that up.
All right, all right. Um, well, in any case, well, do a bit of introduction. Tell us just a bit about yourself.
Well, best thing I'm usually just kind of modest in this regards, where I'm just kind of like I'm just a guy that likes to just play TF2, just screw around, have as much fun as I can, as the best as I can, and just try to have like a decent high energy, but not exaggerate high energy. Where like those most content creators out there are like, "Oh my god, just." I have no clue. I can't really exaggerate that well. I'm not great at that.
I can
I
sort of
usually
relate.
just yeah, I usually just go with the flow, what goes on. When something ridiculous happens, I will be. If I am dying of laughter, it's genuine. That's pretty much the best way I put it.
Alrighty. Well, right. Well, welcome onto the podcast once again. So first question. These are usually prerequisite questions that I ask to my interviewees.
Mhm.
Firstly, how many hours do you have on heavy, and how long have you been playing the class?
All right. For the hour part, currently it's like 686 hours right now. Not my highest at the moment because Delman's kind of topping that with 767. It's because I like playing Demo Knight too.
Hmm.
But I've probably been playing heavy for like I'm trying to remember when I completely started playing maining heavy, but I think I would say it's like since 2008 when I first started around August, which is basically when my account was first made in the first place. I at first was going to be engineer main, but then dealing with the buildings and all that was kind of a pain in the ass, and the only reason I wanted the main engineer at the time was because well Texan. But I kept looking at heavy and just seeing this big muscled fucking guy with a big ass gun and then mowing people down with ease, and I thought that was fun. And then over time, as I played it more and more, it just felt it just felt like me. So I probably would say probably when I completely like full on went heavy was honestly probably when I got my first hat that I kept and I still have to this day, my Hound Dog. I randomly crafted it through the crafting system back in the day. Like I think I just took two junk hats I didn't really care for and just crafted them together and got the Hound Dog. And at the time, it was still new, so I thought, "Fuck it, why not? Sweet."
My, all right. I know you also have a pretty rare, unusual hound dog. I believe, looking on backpack, it looks like a one of 16?
It's one of five last I
A
checked.
one of
Like on
five.
backpack.tf, it says a five only exists, but I could be wrong. They may have changed it or updated it. Eh,
All right.
I just went with it because I thought one, it looked good, and two, I think I got it cheap for like 55 keys. So honestly, I thought, fuck it, why not?
All right. Okay. I respect the hustle. Um,
Hmm.
so what is your ideal heavy weapon loadout? Not with like cosmetics, but with weapons.
Yeah, for me with weaponry, I usually run the Tomasov most of the time. It really depends on the scenario. Like if I'm more of attacking, it's going to be more Tomasov. If it's more defending, or if I know I need high DPS, it's going to be stock. But in terms of the secondaries, again, it depends. If I have a friend that's a medic that I can trust, it's going to be Sandwich. If I don't have a medic I can trust, or there's lack of medics in the casual game, and usually it's going to be Banana. Sometimes I use the Locust Bar, but it really depends on certain things, especially like certain weapons I use. Like I'd say the Locust Bar I'll probably use if I'm using the Groove because of a little quirk between those two with the healing, which makes it kind of ridiculous. But other than that, it probably most games. Let's say if I have a friend, Tomislav, Sandwich, and then for the melee, like I kind of just changed my loadout a lot. But I would say my most used weapons in general throughout the line are going to be Tomislav, Sandwich, and Fist of Steel.
Hmm. Okay.
Those are like my big three guns that I use the most.
All right. What is your highest kill streak and average amount of kills per game with or without medic that you can last recall?
I think I had a 40 kill streak when I had one of my friends' mech on me, and I think it was like on a Frontier Justice map where I think at the end of the game I also had like 200 points or some shit.
Wow.
And yeah, we basically like stomped on both attacking and defending, and probably the only reason I got that many points in that one game is because when we're on attacking, we went all the way to the last point, and almost every moment there was like a lot of fighting, and never just it's a complete roll. But then when on defending, kind of the same thing, but we held out the last point easily.
Hmm.
But without the medic, I've gotten 20 kill streaks every now and then. It's honestly mostly up in the air. If we really want to go with like something that's not heavy that has my highest kill streak, I can easily say 90 on Demo Knight.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, Demo Knight, I kind of just fuck around and find out type thing with that guy.
Hmm. My God. Okay. That's rare. I don't think I've ever interviewed a Demo Knight before, or at least someone with that high of a kill streak ever.
Like, well, let's just say it was on 2 Fort, me fucking around, going all around circles from their sewers to their inside their base and back to our base, repeat, just kind of cleaning up people or basically playing almost like a spy as Demo Knight and scaring the living hell out of people.
Oh my. Okay. That's amazing. Um. Okay. So those were basically the main questions. In this section of the interview, we really get into like the nitty gritty, and we like actually ask
Hmm.
like the big questions. So
Yeah.
I know you sort of already answered it like earlier, but take me
Yeah.
through an extended story of your journey as a heavy main. Why you chose to play heavy, some of your major accomplishments that you would say you had as heavy, and any obstacles and setbacks in your journey, and how you got to where you are today.
Well, in terms of my journey, at least, let's say I remember when I first started playing this game in 2008, and heavy back then was very bare bones. It had like almost nothing of like to his kit other than stock shotgun fist, and that's where it was the hardest to even want to play heavy the most at the time because he had almost nothing, and also the minigun back then was a lot more clunkier in terms of revving and unrevving. It was a lot slower, and he also moved slower revving. So back then it was a struggle in that area. But then when the heavy update came out, we got the Natasha, the Sandwich, and the Killing Gloves of Boxing. And those were some fun moments. The Natasha was kind of just thrown out the wayside because of its damage decrease, and the slow didn't really work half the time. But the Sandwich was loved instantly. I remember when everybody would like huddle around in little heavy picnics, constantly eating their sandwich. But even then, the sandwich wasn't that good back then either. Because I remember it didn't heal the full 300 HP, and it was just like, I think, 200 or 250. I don't remember how much it healed back then. It's been years. And it didn't even have the throw mechanic. It was just a no cooldowns eating of the sandwich. And then the Killing Gloves Boxing hasn't changed in fucking how many years since that update hit, and it's still been the same ever since. But I started getting more into heavy over time, and I remembered during when they did implement the throw mechanic and you could throw it to teammates and heal, I remember how busted the sandwich was during this time. Because now when you eat it, it healed you to full, but wouldn't go on cooldown unless like you threw it, but it wouldn't have a cooldown. You would have to pick up a health kit when you're full HP to get it. And then they changed it to where it had a cooldown in general. And I think they made it to where the cooldown worked when you eat it too. But people didn't like it at first because it would still go on cooldown even if you're full HP. Then they fixed that. And then I remember when you throw the sandwich on the ground and you picked it up, it wouldn't refresh the cooldown. It actually gave you the medkit effects. So you would heal yourself to like half your health by just throwing it. And I remember the strategies back then of just, oh shit, things are going bad. Unrev, pulls that sandwich, throw it on the ground as you're running away, pick it up, heal yourself back to half of your HP so you don't die. And I remember using that a lot back then. And it was honestly, I will say it was busted as all hell. And then when it was gone, it kind of made it a little hard to get used to that. But honestly, I'm glad it was gone because it kind of just made the sandwich just really damn good. And it kind of made any other edible that came out later kind of pointless because it didn't heal you at all. So I remember going through that struggle with that. But it wasn't that bad. And I don't remember when the Tonislav came out. I think it was like the medic update, the Uber update.
Yeah, the Uber update.
And at the time, I remember this. I remember I was like a stock purist back then. Because I don't know why, I just thought the Tonislav was just so cheating. Because it was a 75% faster rev-up speed. It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
But let's see, what else did you answer on this question? Like the setbacks. In terms of setbacks, I guess all I said was like mainly the like learning to not get used to the whole new sandwich thing with you can't pick it up. But in terms of setbacks as a heavy, in terms of learning, it's mainly just learning the track better, and that was about it. And probably, honestly, I would just say this: it could be a joke in a way, but the biggest setback is when I stopped playing TF2 and started playing nothing but League of Legends for like fucking couple years. And honestly, I would say it's also a setback mentally and all that because it kind of killed the fun in me in terms of games. League of Legends is not a game I would recommend to anybody. Even back then, it was fun. But over time, it degraded how I viewed fun. But whenever I got back into TF2 again, it basically lit that fire back up to where I can have fun. I can just not give a shit if we win or lose, just as long as I'm having fun, having a laugh, having a blast in general. So I'd say League of Legends was probably like my biggest setback in my life in terms of, well, how it affected me mentally.
Okay. I assume going back into TF2, you were extremely rusty and you basically had to relearn everything back to square one.
Oh, kind of. It's weird. I have this weird thing with games in general where, like, even if I don't play them for a while, I'll be rusty at first. But once my muscle memory starts to, come back, everything just flows back to normal. It's just gonna be rusty at first.
Hmm. Okay.
It's weird with me because, like, I can probably stop playing a game for like months on end. Like, hell, with TF2, when I did play it throughout the years, I took breaks in between updates. I remember, like, after the heavy update, I'd play it for like a good couple of months and then take a break. Next second, the next major update came out. Play it for a good bit, take a break. Hear a new major update is coming out. Keep track of it, and then jump in right as the update hits and just get all the new the weapons through the achievements, playing through the game. I remember every single update. The only update I think I didn't take a break beforehand before it came out was the engineer update because of the whole crafting stuff, and I basically had to force myself to go play in the game so I can get enough items and try to craft them to potentially maybe get a golden wrench. Obviously, of course, I don't have it since I'd probably be already known by then at that point.
Okay.
But I still have fun. I don't regret all my time with TF2 as a whole, and I'm honestly glad I'm back into it, even though probably in its current state it's not the best it's ever been, but it's still a game I love, and I can't really fault any of it.
Wow. Well, something new I learned. You are a veteran at the game. I was completely
Mm-hmm.
unaware that you were basically there since the early days.
Yeah, I remember when the only things we had back in 2008 was the pyro and the medic weapons, and we had just very few maps. There were some custom maps starting to come out. I do remember that. Like, maps I remember playing in the back of the days was like Convoy, Balloon Tower, or Balloon Race, Wacky Races, some awkward maps in general, but a lot of them were fun back then. I remember playing Cashworks before it even became a map in the actual pool now. I remember playing that with my friends on NGV, and we just play on that map a lot. So honestly, the map just felt like nostalgic for me when it came in, even though, yeah, it had all the bugs, but I don't remember those bugs being a thing back then.
Oh, all right. Um, okay. Is there anything else you want to maybe add on to, just the extended story of you as a gamer?
Um, in terms of, I guess my cosmetic look, I guess the best thing I can think
All
of
right.
is I basically been stuck with the Hound Dog ever since I first got it. I still have, like I said before, I still kept my vintage one. It's still in my inventory to this day, and I've had it. Like, when I tried looking in my history of my backpack, and I think it goes as far back in 2011, at least. And I could be wrong, but I remember there was a way I found out. It was like somewhere in 2011, and it became a vintage. And then over time, my loadout has changed. Like, obviously, I haven't always used the beard cosmetic. At one point, I remember using the Purity Fist for a time because I don't know, I was into that whole cyborg magnetic shit, and I thought it'd be cool just to wear it. And I, I don't have my old one anymore. It was a genuine back then. I got it through like trading.
Okay.
And then in terms of coat, obviously couldn't use this coat back then because it wasn't a thing. But also back then we had very little cosmetic options. Like, at most, I think you were able to wear two cosmetics: your hat and your mist cosmetic. And I did have the Apple earbud cosmetics for a time. I don't remember what had happened with those. I think I may have traded them off back then. But my loadout later, before the current stuff, I just used the Steeljaw Summer Fun because I thought it looked cool. But also, to me, it looked like something from Warhammer 40k with like the orcs and stuff. So I called it the War Boss Heavy Jar, or I didn't call it the Jaw part. I just called it the War Boss Heavy, and then just Wah in the description.
Yeah.
I
That's
think
funny.
I still have that. Let me look real quick. But
That's funny.
and then running the Purity Fist. Here, yep, I still have it. War Boss Heavy. Wah.
That's a funny name.
Fucking
Yeah.
yeah. And I wanted to make a loadout involving it, but there wasn't really many cosmetics that fit the whole theme of like a junker looking orc from Warhammer 40k. So I was like, shit.
Hmm. Okay.
Yeah, me ranting, but you're like,
Yeah, I know. I know someone's saying in the chat. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay. Next question. So in
yes.
in the heavy weapons, in the heavy class's current state, what do you think can be
Yes.
changed?
Oh boy, there's a lot in my opinion that could be changed in general with this class. Like, I love this guy. I love the heavy. I love his current playstyle, but I would love a new playstyle. Either fix out some of the current guns, like Brass Beast needs a. I feel like it needs some kind of change. Ideas split my own head of it, but I'm not going to go with that because that'll be a new rant. Brass Beast could be changed. Hulong here could use a change. Obviously, Natasa could use a change because the slow mechanic is not a fun mechanic, which everyone says. And I feel like it's just what's keeping the gun from more than it could be. I would love the Delocus bar. An easy change that they could do was make it, instead of 50 max health, 100, but then add new downsides like overheal you can't get or something like that, or maybe reduce healing. Turn the Delocus bar into an actual, like, if you do not have a medic and you need a buff, there you go, weapon. And the Sandwich, either try to fix it to make it useful for actual melee heavy stock, because I would so damn use it if it was good, because I do like punching people with my Fist of Steel. And in terms of the melees, all of the current melees, like Fist of Steel is good, but broken in a lot of cases. Holiday Punch is funny, but only usable if you can either one, hit him in the back or get a random crit. Gloves of Ring urgently are good, but that health drain sometimes makes it to where people just kind of shy away from it. Warrior Spirit is just not worth it because that damage vulnerability is pain. Eviction Notice is just straight useless. You might as well use the Guru. So it's like, I would see the Eviction Notice and the Warrior Spirit out of the two that needs a buff in some way or a complete overhaul. And overall, biggest change to Heavy, I honestly feel like a new weapon that can give him a new playstyle. Either maybe a new minigun type that isn't hit scan, maybe a projectile, like, I don't know, a giant cannon launcher, kind of like a bigger version of the loose cannon for demo, but for Heavy in this case, would be funny. Like, I would have some fun with that. Or just a projectile laser minigun would be cool.
Okay.
Like, I've had a lot of ideas when I talk to my friends about this stuff, where we just talk about different ideas and stats or ways of weapons could working. But the biggest thing is I would like to see some new playstyles for Heavy. That's the biggest issue with Heavy, because it's like, technically we only have two playstyles. We got Standard Heavy, which is basically just any of the miniguns being used in the Sandwich and Fists, or Fat Scout. And I wouldn't mind a new weapon that can help make Fat Scout more viable, because Fat Scout is basically, you're just saying screw the minigun entirely and only your shotgun and your melee. So like maybe a new primary that emphasizes that more, to where it's like maybe a buff banner type item, since you're sacrificing the Sandwich. Maybe a new supportive thing you can have as a Heavy, like some kind of buff banner type item or something. I don't know.
Okay. I actually want to go back to one of your answers that you said about a projectile weapon.
Yes.
Do you know TF2 Classic, the mod TF2
Yep.
Classic?
I figure well, technically that's not projectile. It's actually a weird hit scan explosive. But I did love playing that, but they had to keep nerfing it for some reason, even though it didn't need it, because I even did some tests where, alright, I had a bot that mimicked my thing, and we basically would see, alright, what had more deep damage? And close range, minigun won. That was kind of obvious. I expected that. Mid range, minigun still won. Long range, the cannon barely won. And I'm like, okay, this is the problem here. Like, I can understand close range, it's losing the minigun, but mid range felt kind of like that middle ground where maybe the cannon could either they're even or almost close. And then long range, the cannon I felt like should technically win because it doesn't have that spread. And it barely wins, like with like maybe under 100 HP or something. I thought, damn, that's kind of weak. But I did love the cannon before they nerfed it to the ground, and I remember using it a good bit. But very quickly, I started to realize that I felt like it was just better going back to stock. Like, that was just the sad part about that gun.
Okay.
Is it was fun before they nerfed the damage, nerfed the blast radius. Like the idea of a weapon for heavy that isn't just a straight up hit scan shotgun, like a rapid fire shotgun, is still fun.
Hmm. Okay. I can sort of. I remember I used to actually play on a custom weapon server, and it was something
Mm-hmm.
similar to that for heavy, which was actually a shotgun that gave health back. I remember Big Joey made a video on it. It's like a standard shotgun.
It's like a shotgun. Yeah, it's a sandwich shotgun. I remember seeing something like that. I thought that was kind of funny, just seeing a sub on the fucking shotgun, and he just shoots and it heals him, and I think it healed allies. I don't remember. It's either that or the older custom weapon version, because I remember there was a in regular TF2 there was like these custom weapon servers where they had all these different weapons and stuff, and they had the sub shotgun where it basically healed you and I think nearby allies. But I don't remember. It's been a while.
Hmm. Okay.
But I do remember some of the stuff they did. It's like the drill minigun, which is funny.
Yeah, that one I remember. That one I saw gameplay of it. It does not look fun at all.
I remember using the drill minigun in the TF2Cs mod, and it was fun as hell. It was dumb fun because you just kind of roll in, just going brrrr. I
Oh wow.
don't know. My playstyles are funny. Dumb.
Alrighty. Um. Okay. Next question. So
Yes.
this is a pretty fun one that I usually ask.
hmm
Heavy mains that have inspired you, if there are any, and heavy main YouTubers or videos that you see are the best source for help is heavy. Go ahead.
Back then, there wasn't very many, these content creators that we have back in the day, because most videos that were made on T2 were either Gary's mod oriented, like stop motion stuff, mostly fun gags and stuff. But in terms of informational stuff, we didn't start getting that until like maybe in the late 2010s, like 2016 or so, where we got like, Uncle Dane and stuff like that. But in terms of heavy YouTubers, the only ones that can come off my head that I remember watching was like Rider Cycle. I remember seeing Kip Create, Big Joey. I don't remember other heavy mains, at least content creators that I remember seeing before, but those are like the biggest three that I can think of right off the top of my head. Honestly, I think I'm drawing the blank now for some reason. But those are like the biggest ones I remember seeing. But in terms of inspiring me, it's kind of hard to say because it's like I was already inspired to be a heavy main to begin with. And that was through my own means from the past. Mainly just because it's just big guy, big gun. I see myself as the wall that keeps the team in place or be able to slowly push forward. Like the anchor of the team is how I usually saw it.
Hmm. Okay.
And I always kind of saw like the heavy as like he's in terms of the whole team, in most, like, I guess in terms of, like, say, if we're doing, like, a story type thing, I always saw the heavy as, like, the big guy that's quiet, can be bombastic mid-combat, but most cases cares for the team and is there to support and rally the team behind. That's usually how I always saw it.
All right. Going back to content, you think there should be like more heavy main TF tubers in your opinion?
Hard to say because as it currently stands with TF2, and not just TF2, but also Heavy, there's not a lot going for him in terms of mechanics and stuff to talk about. Like, it's mainly just tracking, positioning, target priorities. So if you are going to mow down someone, who to go for first. And then lastly, the quirks of some of the weapons, like Fist of Steel, like for example, I remember I was going to work on a video talking about like some of the weird little quirks, like for example, if a mech is healing you and then you pull out the Fist of Steel, you don't get the overheal penalty until you start losing HP to where it gets healed back, or the mech reapplies the metagun. And certain effects like Afterburn doesn't get reduced, Bleed doesn't get reduced. I think things that do melee damage get actually increased because, Fist of Steel, because they're considered melee damage.
Mm-hmm.
And basically just knowing what is considered a range attack and what is considered not a range attack, what gets amplified and what doesn't get amplified, is basically like things you need to learn for at least the Fist of Steel. And also the little quirks, like technically you can basically help a meg build uber faster because of the Fist of Steel. The Gru, like I said earlier, there's a little quirk between the Delocos bar and the Gru, but I think it's more just a bug. And I wouldn't really recommend people to sit there and try to learn it more because, one, it could potentially be fixed, and we don't know when. Like, they may fix it, and then the whole quirk that made that combo actually good, gone. And people who sat there and tried to learn how to do it basically loses out on it.
Uh-huh. Okay.
And I think some content creators have already mentioned that stuff. Like, I think Big Joey talked about it once, or another content creator talked about it, because that's how I learned about it in the first place. But in terms of overall heavies, like, things that you can make informational videos explaining stuff and all that, you can kind of put that all in one video and be done with it. And I rather, at least to me, if I was going to do informational stuff, I wouldn't want to just keep pumping out informational stuff about heavy that either one has already been talked about before, or like basically the best way to put it is I don't want to saturate it. I don't want to just sit there and just fill in the hole when it doesn't need to be filled.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm still going to be a heavy main nonetheless. It's just I don't think I'll probably make most like a series of videos I may make are just my choice of weaponry, and probably if it still would definitely be one of them. It'll be my choice of weapon. I'll talk about everything I like about it, what I use it for, the funny moments, to talking about the stats. That way people know what they do and stuff. But that's just the whole point of that idea.
Okay. Now, there's one person you mentioned. Well, I just want to just briefly mention Kip Create. For those in chat who are watching, watch my interview I did with Kip Create about a month back. It's almost at 150 views. Yeah, get that higher. I want to actually ask you, given that you are a content creator, I know I didn't include this in like the question sheet, but I usually ask this question for those that make content. So you're a Twitch streamer. How long have you been doing Twitch?
I started around late 2018 December, but as I was starting, I got sick, so I chose to stop streaming for a time until I got better, so that way I'm not like, constantly coughing my head off, raspy voice, all that. I stopped streaming and then started in like 2019 in January. I don't know when exactly, but it was still early January, I'd say. And that's when I fully started, and ever since, still been doing it.
Who inspired you to do Twitch, or did you just decide to like do it on your own?
I've been thinking about doing it for the longest time, probably when I was playing, back when Fortnite first started, when it first came out as the Battle Royale. I started playing it, but when I was playing it, I figured, fuck it, I might as well try to stream this. And I looked around and I noticed there's so many people streaming it. And I thought, okay, never mind, because I probably would never be noticed in a sea of other people also doing the same thing. So I just figured, screw it, I won't do it. And then I got back into TF2. Like, I remember I played during Jungle Inferno, got back into TF2 a bit, stopped playing for a time, came back, and was basically nonstop playing TF2 and 2 Fort, just screwing around as Demo Knight or something. And I figured, you know what, if I'm just going to be sitting here playing this, I might as well just stream this shit. So I just said, screw it, set everything up, started working on some stuff. And I think during the time when I first started in 2018, it was just bare bones. It was just me starting as just a stream. But then when I took that break, I started getting into Source Filmmaker to start making my own images, BRB screens, stuff like that. So that way I at least have something. So I started learning Source Filmmaker pretty much at the same time and started to work towards all that stuff.
Okay. Wow. All right. Well, I will say you have made it quite far. You do have a following. Big or small, that's very subjective, but...
It's small, but to me, I don't mind that too much for a few reasons. A lot of people that ask me why don't I try to either, one, collab with a lot more people, or why am I not doing certain things to get my name out more, and I go, well, a few reasons. One is, if I try to worry too much about growing big, and then I finally do get big, what the fuck do I do? Sometimes, I feel like I'll probably get overwhelmed. Or, in some cases, this is more of a mental thing, it could potentially get through my head, either in a bad way or in a good way, depending. And I just want to make it as like seamless and and even then with my community being small, it allows me to actually talk to people instead of just can't really talk when the chat's constantly moving at fast speeds. Like for me, at least with my streams, I don't like to put a lot of visual clutter on the stream itself for the sake of one, visual clarity of the stream itself in terms of the gameplay for people who want to see that, but also still have me talking and doing my usual bombastic stuff. Like I'm more of a minimalist when it comes to like stuff on streams in terms of I don't want to just put stuff just because they're unless I'm making a joke or having fun. Like I remember I did put like little PNG images on stream, but I usually keep those to a minimum. I don't like to put like all kinds of stuff like, oh, here's my donation bar or some shit because one, I usually just leave it up to people if they want to or not, if they really think I'm worth donating to in the first place, and I don't pressure people on that. I don't say, hey, subscribe, all that. I don't tell people to follow. I tell them, hey, if you follow, I hope you enjoy watching the stream and hope to see y'all and all that. That's pretty much how it is.
All right.
I usually don't like to just push it, is basically what I'm trying to say.
So you basically, well, you don't really care too much about fame, and honestly, that's relatable.
Yeah, like, if I get famous, cool. But I'd rather it not be like I'd rather be at least respectable if I do get famous in terms of, like, I don't want to clickbait people. If I am going to do a clickbait, it will be actually something that's in the video. If I do make more videos, because currently I don't really have very many to begin with. And I want to be fair. Like, I don't want to just sit there and just produce garbage. I want to give people that are looking towards something to watch, something to look forward to. That's why, like, if I ever have a stream and I'm just having a bad mood, I just stop. Because it's best for not just me, but the viewers themselves. I respect the viewers' time. If they're going to watch something, I want them have something to watch and actually enjoy. If I'm not having fun, then, well, it's not going to be fun for the viewers either. Unless I like seeing me not having fun and being ragey, but that's a different thing. I'm talking about just low energy, dead. Like, I remember I had a stream not super long ago where I did not sleep for shit the night before. So I tried to stream anyway because, there was times I've had moments of no streams. I tried to stream anyway, but I was just so dead. And I just said, screw it. It's best I just end it. I kind of wish I just said screw it and just kind of canceled to begin with, but I wanted to at least try to get something out for people to watch.
Oh my. All right. Well, all I could say is, like I said, you have definitely come a long way. Honestly, it's just, yeah, I respect the hustle. I absolutely respect the hustle, man.
I just do what I can and basically just make sure to have something for people to watch. I try to keep, like, if there was any drama between my friends, I try to keep that stuff out because, friends... I don't want my friends' problems being plastered out everywhere, either to make them look bad or, in this case, obviously me to look bad. But here's the thing. If there's an issue between me and my friends, that should be something we deal with, not for something the entire stream to watch, because why drag other people into something that they probably don't want to be in?
All right.
So I usually try to make sure my streams are fun, just chill or welcoming, and hey, feel free to talk type feel. It's like, hey, don't be afraid. I'll chat with anybody.
Well, I definitely would recommend anyone to basically watch you, especially if they're someone that's new at Eevee.
Yeah.
So this last question, this is basically the last of all the main questions, and I know if you want, you can go ahead and just go on a rant about this, but
yeah,
I'll let you, take as much time as you need. What are some tidbits of advice that you would give to those that are either struggling or new to Heavy, and some maps and strategies that you would recommend?
All right. In terms, let's break this down to the simplest parts. In terms of maps, I'd say stay away from 5CP because 5CP is such a mess in terms of things going back and forth and a lot of running you gotta do, especially if you don't have an engineer. But the best maps I'd say to try to learn heavy are probably, honestly, I want to say payload, just because at least for defending, you have obvious places where you can sit and deploy and to be waiting for the enemy team. And then for attacking, you know where you can start trying to do push-ins. So for maps, I would say like Payload are good maps for this, or maybe some tack/defend maps. Like, coming off the top of my head, I know I like Moss Rock here and there. What's that one? Mountain Lab, I think. I remember like playing Mountain Lab. There's some good spots you can sit there. And Egypt has some really good high ground areas. I do remember that as heavy. Just sometimes I don't like it because sniper sight lines, which is going to go into my next point, the strategies. The best thing I'd say to learn is positioning. Knowing where sniper sight lines are, keeping your awareness for any potential spies, like listening out for sounds they may do, like cloaking, decloaking, stab sounds. For example, most people don't know you could do this, but or at least I don't think people know they could do this. But there's times I've had spies that try to use the Eternal Reward behind me. They'll backstab an ally behind me. But here's the thing. You can still technically hear that stab sound, like that little stick he does when he hits somebody. Yeah, even though you don't hear the scream they make or the body falling, you still hear that stab. And I usually turn my ass around instantly the moment that happens. And I catch those spies off guard every time when I do it because they don't expect it. Because they think, oh, silent killer. It's silent. Not entirely. Which is just funny in my eyes, but yeah. But pretty much the best things I say to learn for heavy is knowing your positionings, knowing where the sniper sight lines so you don't get domed every time when you try to walk out to do anything. Knowing your health values on what damage you take. Like, say, for example, I'd say when you hit 150 HP, back the fuck up. Because you're basically in range of a headshot death, or if you're close to 100, a one-shot pill to pipe pill. Like, you can survive at least one pipe pill at 150, but if you go any lower than 100, then you're dead. You're basically, if 100 and under, you're dead from a pipe, or a rocket at close range ramp up. So, knowing your health values, what you can and can't tank, and then pushing out when you have over 150. I'd say 200 and above, I would say, is a good spot to at least try to push out. But when you know there's a sniper headshotting you, knowing to take cover, basically trying to manipulate your hitbox in some way by, looking upwards, spinning around or something. Basically take a slight page out of the bots in terms of how they always spin up and look around. Kind of do something like that. Not obviously literally downloading the damn software that does that, but literally just using your mouse and just going crazy. Because it does screw around your hitbox enough to where it kind of makes it harder to hit. Especially if you use the Fist of Steel, use those and then just look up and just all over the place. It makes it harder to hit your head.
I never thought about just looking around, making an order. Okay.
Well, if you think about it, there's a reason why the spin bots even do that in the first place. Because if it didn't work, why would they do it? It'd be unnecessary coding. They could have just, make them walk from position A to position B. But the reason they do that whole spin thing is make it harder to hit them in the head in the first place.
Yeah, because the hitbox is being manipulated to all oblivion.
It's been manipulated to all hell to where it's kind of hard as a sniper, even if you're cracked in some cases. Makes it hard to hit that head, especially when it goes from one position to another, and it's like, oh, man, I missed.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, crouching when you encounter a sniper sight line has saved me more times, more than one.
Oh, yeah, crouching sometimes works, but sometimes it can be a little screwy, especially when, say, dealing with huntsmans, because, the hitbox on that's all over the place. But it still works. I've had, hell, even fighting in heavy v heavies, occasionally randomly crouching in the mid-fight sometimes screws over their aim to where some of their bullets will miss over the top of their head because now they're hitting. Because usually when you're a heavy and you're shooting your gun against another heavy, you're hitting dead set in the body, to cover all your pellets hitting the target. When they out of nowhere crouch, now you're basically hitting the top of their head shoulder area, meaning more bullets are missing.
Okay.
So, yeah, you do trade off when you do crouch as heavy to not being able to move at all. But those clutch moments, they do come in handy.
All right.
And probably the next thing is target priority. Usually, for me, in target priority, it's basically target the characters that you can hit at your range, while also they're the most threat to you or your team. Say, a spy decloaks nearby. Kill him first, because he can backstab any of you, yourself, or any of your allies, whatever. Kill him first, get him out of the way, you don't have to worry about it. If there's a sniper close range and he's scoped in to try to kill you, kill him first, because headshots hurt. And then soldiers are an obvious one. Demos are another obvious one if they're close range. But if they're mid-range, like a soldier, if a soldier's long range, you don't have to bother shooting him at that range. You can ignore him because his damage fall off ain't going to do shit. That's why it's better just to worry about people near your range at your maximum damage. That way you can actually kill them. And then you can start worrying about peppering someone at long ranges, especially with the Tomislav in this case. Is just knowing your target priorities, who's a threat, who's an immediate threat, and then who's a minor threat.
Okay.
People who are minor threats, you can just kind of ignore unless they're in your range and they are a threat. Like Pyro is at close range. Usually you're going to kill them first.
Okay.
Especially since the flames kind of blinds you, which gets annoying.
Yeah, somewhat. Okay, well, that basically wraps up the main questions. These last two, first of all, I want to say thank you for coming on, or being willing to. These last two questions are basically just closer questions I usually ask all my interviewees, just to close the interview properly. First closer question is, what's the best song genre to listen to while you pub stomp?
I'd say somewhere in the categories of certain video game music, specifically Command and Conquer music, like Command and Conquer Hell March or the Command and Conquer Soviet March, which you've probably heard of the Soviet March because it's been used as a meme with Heavy in general, where it's like the Russian singing an anthem, or whatever.
Yeah.
But you probably heard that one. Probably multiple people have heard that. But the other one's Hell March, which to me, for Command & Conquer, is a very big music piece that I thought was always cool to listen to. And it's really good for those high-impact matches, or hell, even Command & Conquer Grinder, which is more on the heavy rock end. To me, it feels like it fits the tempo of you're just in that fight. In that firefight with all the rockets and explosions behind you while you're just sitting there mowing down people as you go by.
Okay.
I think it fits the best, to me at least.
Alright. I'll respect your decision. And lastly, the $1 million question that's been basically dividing the entire TF2 community since day one. The Tomislav or the stock minigun?
Oh boy. So I remember back in the past, I've said this before, but I was a stock purist back then.
Yeah.
Mainly just because I just loved the stock minigun in most cases, and I thought the Tomislav was kind of just cheating back then because 75% faster rev-up speed was honestly broken as hell. But it did lead to the gun basically being nerfed at the ground, where it had, I think a 10% rev-up increase, and then to now, which is a 20%? Yeah, it's 20%, I just looked. But basically, I like both of them. I think I like the Tomislav more currently, mainly just because it fits my more aggressive playstyle. But it's hard to beat a good stock game where I remember I think I haven't played with my stock in forever. I pulled it out one game, immediately went to a 40 kill streak.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. It is hard to beat the miniguns in their best moments. And I use stock usually in defense scenarios and Tomislav for more offensive scenarios. If I know I'm more defending a position, stock is what I go to. If I'm playing MVM, stock. Most people use Brass Beast. I hate the Brass Beast in MVM for some reason. It's because of that lack of movement that it gives me. I can't really dodge rockets, like sidestep it at all. I have to sit there and do damage. Like, if you have a medic that you can trust that can keep you alive in those moments, Brass Beast is good. But this is off topic on that part.
Uh-huh.
Stock and Tomislav, to me, they're both pretty much at the same area for me in terms of what I like. If we had to go down to nitty gritty stats, technically Tomislav is just better because the fire rate is kind of bugged to where it's not as low as it should be, which in turn makes it not as a bad of a downside, and you're mostly just getting upsides, which is just no sound and faster rev up speed at that point. And the only real downside is just the slower firing rate, which in terms of damage, you're still going to do high damage with this gun. Stock is just iconic in terms of, you know, how long it's been a thing. But if I had to go down on preferences, like certain parts, like say war paints, I like stock with war paints more than Tomislav. I don't know why. Some of the war paints on Tomislav just don't look that good, and stock just looks a lot nicer with them. So in terms of war paints, stock is better, and at least in my eyes, personally.
But in terms
And if
of
we had to go
usability-
with, but in terms of usability, like overall, how long you be most likely to use it, it's probably Tomislav.
Tomislav?
Like,
Okay.
yeah, I'd say Tomislav in that regard. Stock is good and useful, but most scenarios is heavy. You're either being mostly aggressive with an occasional defensive scenarios, which stock fits that part, and it can work offensively. It's just in certain moments, I feel like Tomislav just gives you more options. Like, you can be more sneaky with it since it has silent rev up. Yes, it revs faster. I mean, you have more movement potential because you can jump rev a lot more and a lot easier compared to stock.
All right.
So I feel like Tomislav is just good. Also, the accuracy increase, which I honestly keep forgetting it exists sometimes, since I still mostly kill people at like close ranges. But the accuracy helps at mid range. That's where Tomislav starts beating out the stock at that point, even at longer ranges, because of that accuracy increase.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
well, I guess that just about wraps up the interview. Right, you have the final word before I close it out.
Well, all I can say is just keep on gaming and just have fun. Don't let other people ruin your own fun when you're just sitting there mowing people down with your gun and eating your sandwich or sharing it with your medic. You never know.
All right. Well, my name is DJ Gorilla Jones. This was twitch.tv/Tig119 as my guest. All right, enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks for coming on, man.
Peace out.
Yep, you too, man. All right. Thank you for coming on, ladies and gentlemen. I know some of you here, I know some people probably left because that was some bit of ranting, but you know what? I enjoyed it. Honestly, it was quite relaxing doing that interview with you, Tig. Keep up your streaming, man. You've done absolutely amazing. We're going to do a raid in just a few moments just to close out the stream. And yeah, thanks for coming on and enjoy the rest of your day. To each and every single one of you here.